Hello Nerdy Jurors, my name is Maria Park, and this is Approach the Nerd, the show that takes your favorite nerd content and puts it on trial. And this week's defendant is Captain America, and the accusation is Captain America and Mary Sue. Take a seat, because court is in session right now. Captain America was introduced in the comic world in March of 1941 by Jack Kirby and Joe Simon. And you can say he kind of came in with a punch, as you can see in the cover, him knocking out Hitler. So there's no arguing that Captain America is considered the very first Avenger. And if you've seen Captain America's first movie, then you know that he's gone through a lot of trials and tribulations and of course heartbreak to get to this point. However, if you look at the MCU as a whole, almost every member of the Avengers and beyond have gone through a lot of devastating events. The only difference is, by the end of Endgame, there is only one character who seems to have gotten everything that he wanted. And that character is Captain America. And for that reason, some fans have dubbed Captain America to be the MCU's Mary Sue. So you may be asking yourself, exactly what is a Mary Sue? So I guess the best example I can give you is useless character Bella Swan from a horrible Twilight, who not only got to be a vampire like she wanted, but actually got everything she wanted by the end of the series, without losing or sacrificing anyone or anything. And the same can be said honestly about Steve Rogers in the MCU. But let's look at the evidence. Here are the top 10 reasons why Captain America is potentially a Mary Sue. Number 10, from scrawny to super soldier. So at the beginning of his first movie, Steve Rogers was extremely tiny, frail, and had a slew of health problems. But regardless of his health, Steve's main wish was to join the 107th Infantry Regiment like his father, going so far as to illegally applying over 5 times. And although physically weak, Steve proved to be a very determined and stubborn young man, never backing down in a fight, even when he should. But in the end, Steve got his wish and was able to not only be recruited as a potential for the 107th, but he also got to prove his worth and beat all of his fellow trainees as the one to receive the Super Soldier Serum. With the result being that the MCU now had its first Avenger, and of course, it's Captain America. Number 9, Captain Canoodle. For a man who's even said himself that he's not very good with the ladies, it seems like his lips didn't get the memo. So here's a short compilation of Steve Rogers macking on some of the hottest women in the MCU. Number 8, Bucky, eternal bromance. In the comics, Bucky was the sidekick of Captain America and also one of his biggest fans, idolizing Steve Rogers and basically considering him to be his best friend. I mean, you would have to be to wear an outfit like this. But in the MCU, their relationship was completely reversed, with Steve always looking up to Bucky. I mean, literally, because, he was pretty short. And Bucky willingly took on the role as Steve's protector and, quite frankly, only friend. Their friendship unfortunately would take a turn for the worse when Bucky loses his life, or so we thought, during a mission to stop Hydra, which becomes Captain America's greatest regret, not saving Bucky. So when he sees that he's alive, Steve tends to kind of defend Bucky even when he's being psychotic and trying to kill people. As a matter of fact, one can argue that Bucky becomes Steve's main focus and priority in all of the rest of the MCU movies. Which brings us now to the Civil War battle at the airport, where Steve should be fighting for his viewpoints and morals. But no, he's actually fighting to help Bucky escape. Even going so far as attacking his former teammate Iron Man, who just found out that Bucky, while brainwashed, murdered his parents, and that Captain America kind of knew about it and didn't say anything. He's still all about Bucky. And by the end of Endgame, Bucky is returned from the snap and is now a free man, so technically, Captain America got exactly what he wanted. Number 7. The only acceptable lies are for Captain America. When it comes to Captain America, he's known for being extremely honest. In fact, he stated himself he's not able to tell a lie. Except he does, and not only does he lie, he encourages others to do the same. So I am a military brat, so I know the following statement is true. Even in Steve's very first movie, he broke the law trying to repeatedly get recruited into the army. Once you are stamped 4F, that is it. Game over. Steve has also had people steal back his equipment from the government, ally with him against Tony, even though they have no idea they're really doing it for Bucky, takes on Bucky, or the Winter Soldier, I guess we're calling him now, at the expense of every civilian on the bus and on the highway. I mean, bullets are flying. Where are the people on the highway? I'm assuming they're all dead. And then there's the infamous letter that Steve leaves for Tony where he half-ass apologizes for not telling him that, hey, Bucky killed your parents. But he was brainwashed. The interesting fact about this is that while Tony is reading this letter, Steve is beating up prison guards and setting his followers free, which is also totally legal. Number 6, Captain keeps his Peggy. From the moment Steve's eyes locked on the Peggy Carter, it was love. And there definitely seemed to be a mutual attraction between the two, especially after the super soldier serum kicked in. So when Steve sacrificed himself and then woke up in the future, we all kind of felt bad for him. But then he got to be with the woman he loved on her deathbed. And he also got to help carry her coffin at her funeral. That doesn't happen to any other characters in the MCU, and it really got me thinking, if Captain America is truly the Mary Sue of the MCU, then was it ever really goodbye? But then he went back in time and saw her, and then eventually went back in time again and eventually married her. So he also got the girl in the end. Again. Number 5, Mjolnir. Mjolnir has many origin stories in the comics, but basically it is Thor's hammer, the Asgardians' main weapon, which should never be wielded by mortal men, since it has the capability of driving them insane. But these silly and very ancient laws do not apply to Captain America. Captain America is able to pick up the hammer. And not just pick up the hammer, he's able to fight with it, swinging it around and beating down Thanos like it's nothing. And on top of that, he's also able to summon lightning, just like the God of Thunder. Which kind of makes no sense since Captain America is still considered mortal. So then, how? Well, if you ask the Russos, it's because he's Captain America. Number 4, Captain America no longer has to deal with the Accords. So Civil War was supposed to focus on the Sokovia Accords, a big source of contention between all of the members of the Avengers, as no one could agree on what to do. And for a while, it looked like Captain America was taking a hard stance against the Accords, which he technically does. Except the movie turned quickly towards saving Bucky, and then we realized that it really wasn't a priority after that. And yet, still, half of the Avengers are loyal to Captain America and follow him blindly into battle against the rest of their team. Too bad Captain America goes back in time and gets married to Peggy, because what that really means is that he took himself out of the conversation and left his so-called friends that were on his side to deal with the ramifications after Endgame of the Accords all by themselves. Number 3, even time travel loves Captain America. Probably one of the most pivotal moments in the first Avenger movie is when Captain America realizes that he's no longer in the 40s and is actually in the future. And probably realizing you're in the middle of Times Square didn't help. I mean, I've been there and that place is always congested. But in true Mary Sue form, Captain America not only got to meet all new allies as well as become the hero, or America's ass, but he was also revered back in his original timeline as being the hero of that age too. And the icing on the cake is that he got to go back in time again and marry the woman of his dreams and live a normal life. Unfortunately, that didn't work out for anyone else because Black Widow is still dead. And Ant-Man's daughter Cassie lost 5 years with her father. And then there's Tony. Number 2, Captain's shield. In all of the MCU, there is no greater love than there is between Captain America and his shield. I mean, he helped design it, and he used it to fight Hydra. And he also used it against Iron Man, his former friend, who just happens to be the son of the man that created the shield for him in the first place. And he uses the shield against Iron Man to defend the guy who murdered Iron Man's father. So simply put, he's using the weapon he got from the murder victim against the murder victim's son to defend the murderer. That's awesome. And then he has to give up the shield, but that's okay because he gets the shield back. And then Thanos breaks the shield. And then he gets his shield again, but this time he gives it away to Falcon, making him the new Captain America. And that brings us to number 1. Captain likes to keep it in the family. When Steve first meets Agent 13, he had no way of knowing that she was actually the niece of his former love, Peggy Carter. But that little tidbit does not stop their mutual attraction towards each other. I mean, yeah, she was originally sent to spy on him, but they definitely had a connection from the beginning. So what happened? Well, he started off by doing this, and then went back in time so that he can resume doing this. And poor Sharon Carter was left without a letter or a phone call. But what do you expect from America's ass? And there you have it, the top 10 reasons why Captain America is potentially a Mary Sue. What do you think? Leave us a comment below and let us know. And if you'd like to be signed up for jury duty, hit the subscribe button. And if you'd like to know who's next on our ballot, hit the notification bell. Until next time, I can't wait to see you in Nerd Court. And if you have time, make sure to check out some of our other videos.